happened in the circle this week that I think was actually quite telling on a kind of a wider level about how we communicate online with each other. And it was this particular episode that happened between Woody and Sammy, who obviously isn't Sammy in real life, but take a look and see what you think.
I think I want to talk to Sammy because clearly doing something wrong and she's doing it right, and it appears I'm not as popular as I thought.
I knew it. Circle, take me to the private chat with Woody. Let's see what he's got to say.
Circle message. Hey Sammy, how are you and Charlie doing this evening?
Message. Yeah, I'm doing great, thank you. Charlie is actually staying with my mum whilst I'm in the circle. Kiss and send.
I've been really stressed today, especially about coming last. Just want to know if you'd have any idea what I might be doing wrong. Send. Oh, I've rushed into it. I didn't listen to her message. Oh, this is what I've been doing all day.
Completely bypassed Charlie. He doesn't care, this kid.
I messaged too quickly. I'm thinking about myself more than I'm thinking about other people. And I've got to slow it down.
I think Woody was coming from a place of real vulnerability and probably feeling really quite anxious and insecure. And we know that because it stopped him being able to kind of show interest into what Sammy had actually said. And that made kind of James get quite cross about that. And he was like, oh, look, see, he's just not interested in me. And I think one of the things that this tells us about the way that we engage with each other online is that we don't get a lot of the information that we need sometimes. So there's no exchange of facial expression, we can't see body language, we can't get any of the tone and intonation of what someone's saying. And the impact that that can have on the way that we relate is that we go just by the words, or the lack of words in this case, and we can sometimes make judgments about the motivations behind that message that are actually a little bit off the mark. So where James is assuming that Woody's actually just self-absorbed, he's not interested, it's actually coming from a place of anxiety and fear about his own current circumstances, and he feels bad about that. That's how I know that this isn't actually his general character. He's not just narcissistic and doesn't care, he's just actually feeling so anxious that it's interrupted his ability to be interested in the other person at that time.
But I sometimes feel like the effort hasn't been there, especially with me.
Message. I completely understand that. I've been very wrapped up in learning the system and found it hard to get myself across. I'm quite dyslexic and sometimes get very stressed out. Thank you for being honest. With me it really helps. X. Send.
I don't know what to think. You know what, if that is a young 18-year-old lad sat there sending these messages, I do feel for him.
I've just got to get used to the system. I find it hard to concentrate. I'm like really trying to focus on the messages.
I am really sorry to hear about the dyslexia, and I wish you would have told me sooner, because then I would have understood.
What Woody was talking about there in terms of him having dyslexia, finding it difficult to concentrate, these things do affect the way people communicate with one another online. We tend to think of dyslexia as something that affects your ability to read, but actually it can affect your whole ability to communicate, because sometimes it can make it difficult for you to find your words or to concentrate or to get the full meaning from a message that's been sent to you and then respond to it appropriately. So it's worth thinking about whether anybody in your social circle, perhaps in a WhatsApp group that you're a part of, might actually be dyslexic, and sometimes it's perhaps not as easy for them to keep up with the conversation, especially when the messages are coming thick and fast, and it might actually be quite difficult for them to communicate their true thoughts, feelings, or to express themselves in that kind of written way. So if there is anybody in your friendship group, in your family, or maybe if it's you that's dyslexic, think about talking about that and bringing bringing it out into the open. Because once you do tell someone that you're dyslexic, or someone tells you that, it can really open up the conversation, and it can mean that everybody will stop judging and making perhaps the wrong judgments, and instead will perhaps make a few allowances if you communicate in a slightly different way. And I just wonder how many of us, you know, sometimes get a text or a response to a text from someone and we think, oh, that was kind of weird. They didn't mention what I said, or they didn't respond fully to what I actually said in my last text. And we sometimes assume that our friend or our family member has let us down in some way, but maybe something's going on for that person that's just interrupting their ability to kind of fully take in what we've tried to communicate. So I think one message we can take away from the circle this week is really try hard not to judge the other person on the other side of the message until you've got the full picture of what's going on for that person. And if you do get a message that leaves you a bit angry, or maybe a bit frustrated, or you think it's just a little bit out of character perhaps from a friend, always check out to see if they're okay before you kind of say, actually, I was a bit disappointed in your response. So I'd love to know what you think about that, and whether you've ever had a message from a friend that's left you feeling a bit kind of disconcerted, but then you found out that something was going on for them. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe and follow in all the usual places, and let me know what you think.